So if we're going to make an HDRi render, we are going to need an HDRi background, which if you don't know what that is, I might make a video about that on its own. But HDRi is going to allow us to project light from an image to our geometry, and it's going to make things look hyper real because the reflections look very realistic because there's lots of detail, buildings and whatnot in this one. In the car window here, you find it. There's the building distorted properly as it would be in real life. That's what makes this car, that and the material shaders applied to this car, that's what makes this car look so realistic, is the reflections are correct. So for us to do this, we're going to need we're going to need an HDRi image. These, you can find them on Google pretty quickly. We have one in our classroom that's a free one that I'm giving y'all if you're in my class. So if you right click and grab this EXR, you can download it and just hold on to it for a second. And so for now, we're going to grab Maya, create a new scene, and drop in a cube and a sphere. And I'm going to pause here for a second. Okay, so with the sphere and the cube, we want to project light from an image onto this thing. So the quickest way to do that is to go to Arnold and click on this shiny ball, which happens to look like what we want. So that creates a sky dome light, which if you zoom out far enough, you'll be able to see it. And this basically shoots light from every direction of that sphere. Okay, and you can change the color and whatnot, but what we want to do is change the color to contain a texture that is our HDRi image. So instead of choosing one color from like a color picker, we're going to have a texture wrapped around this ball in the form of a file that we downloaded. So we're going to click on our folder, and you guys in my class are going to go to U-Drive Downloads, and you'll be able to find it in there. My downloads folder is a little different than y'all's, but when you click it, you should see a preview of the image. So I'm going to open that, and as soon as that's open, you should be able to orbit around the image, or orbit around the scene and see the image, and it should look like this. It should look square, even though it's put onto a sphere. The reason it looks square is it's distorted to do that. So now, if you render, this isn't terribly exciting yet, but in render view, it does have the lighting from that scene. It's just not very exciting yet. We'll get there once we apply a chrome shader to the ball and cube. So go ahead and add a sky dome light to your scene, apply it as a color texture, and find your file, and it should show up like this. The last step we have, after we have a good background here, is to apply a material shader to our object. And so I want to make mine chrome. So I'm going to go ahead and use, I'm going to right click and hold down and go down to Assign Favorite Material. And my favorite material at the moment is going to be the Phong shader. Once I hit it with the Phong shader, I'm going to turn this diffuse all the way down because chrome objects diffuse almost no light at all. Okay, they reflect almost everything. And I'm going to turn the translucence down to 0 because right now we just want a pure chrome ball. And the cosine power, I'm going to just slam to the right. So these four are 0 and this one is 100. Okay? And when you look at it, you're going to see a chrome ball. And it's going to be reflecting dynamically in that scene. So if I rotate around it, it's reflecting the shadows behind it, right? And if I get right here next to this cube, you can actually see the gray cube in the reflection of that sphere in the render, right? Isn't that cool? So this is what's going to help us make things look hyper real, because we're going to have very realistic highlights and shadows. So right click. Right now we're going to use a Phong shader. Make sure that, Oops. Make sure that under your Phong shader, your diffuse is 0 and your cosine's 100, okay? This technique can be applied to most any animation you make. Your text animation will benefit a lot, but you don't have to use that one warehouse photo I gave you. Okay, there's tons of HDRi images available. There's going to be some sites that have a bunch of them for you. You could probably find some through Google Images, but you want to make sure that you get to a high quality image. Technically, you really want like an EXR file, which is like a HDRi file, but you know, in a pinch, I've used a JPEG and it worked just fine. So real quick, let me show y'all. I'm going to throw y'all screens onto mine last time for this class, okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, this kind of thing can create really cool images since we are kind of rendering in space rather than in, like, you know, a warehouse. This kind of stuff could be pretty useful. This is just found by going to, you know, free HDRi images or something like that. And there's a bunch of this kind of stuff. If you want just clouds and stuff, there you go. Make sure that you're getting a high quality large image. So it says the image size down here. You don't want a small thumbnail, okay? This is not going to be very high quality. They probably, just guessing, want you to purchase this image for a couple bucks, okay? You guys probably, just guessing, don't want to purchase this image for a couple bucks. So you ought to keep, you know, look further and try to find one that has a large size and is totally free. So, yeah, like I downloaded that one. So this image could work for us because it's pretty high quality. It's high quality enough to get some nice reflections, though your text would be inside a grocery store. So something to think about.